Okay.
Welcome, Mr. Lane. Good seeing you again. Glad to see you on other.
Rather see you here.
Rather see you here. It's so kind. Both my parents, when they passed away, my aunt and sister-in-law years ago, he was a nice person. Dr. Sullivan, always a pleasure to see you. I'll have to watch my facts now, my dates and stuff like that.
You know a lot more about the area than I do. I'm a generalist. I know it from above, but I don't know
you here.
on the ground.
I have to skip the
Well,
actual
you're the reason
precise
we came,
dates.
Paul.
I'm going to have to skip the precise
Yeah,
dates.
you're the reason I came. I wanted to hear it.
So I'll use estimated dates now.
I'm a big fan of your great-grandfather's, and he's buried there. You know.
Yes, Captain James German.
Oh, yeah.
He's buried in Handsboro. I don't know if he still has a Civil War marker, but he should. He and his
You
son
know, I
Albert-
looked for his stone for years and couldn't find it because it kept going back to the German plot. And then one day I just walked in up front, and there it was.
Yeah.
It was right up front.
He's there. Robert Alford is there too. My great-great-grandfather's there, who was from Handsboro, which is one of the reasons I collected a lot of Handsboro stuff. He moved to Handsboro in 1837. I'm sorry, 1843, I think. And, immigrated into the U.S. in 1837 in New Orleans as an indentured servant. And then I jumped ship and worked, running lumber up and down the Mississippi River until 1843. I think when he moved to Handsboro and he worked a schooner there, worked two schooners, a Seahorse and a Yankee Bell, as well.
Can everybody hear Paul?
Go ahead and use the microphone, Paul.
Use the microphone?
Or at least talk loud. Can anybody not hear him?
Yeah.
I cannot not hear him. I can hear him.
You can hear me?
I cannot hear you.
Okay, I'll talk loud.
All right, that's good. Just I don't want anybody saying they couldn't hear.
Mr. We're going to be our test case.
It's don't run down, Paul.
Okay. Anyway, so my relatives are there since 1843. My great-great-grandfather, James German, which I'll show you where his property is here on here, and his son, Robert Alfred, and their son, George, and then, which was my grandfather, and my dad, Richard, and then myself. The German family right here lived in this property right in here. This is Tea Garden Road, and right in here is where the German house was, and the Lopasser house is right in here too. This area right here. This map came from Sullivan, the Stevens.
Yeah,
Stevens collection.
He doesn't know that Tea Garden's misspelled on it. Mr. Stevens would have corrected that.
Yeah.
It's
That's his
just
map.
T-E.
That's his map, though.
I know, but
Yeah.
he's made a big deal out of getting that spell right lately.
Yeah. One of those something specific about the plot on here. I brought the index with me. Of course, I didn't remember that index. I didn't really find out I was going to do this till Saturday.
Right.
So, and she said keep it to about 15 minutes. So I threw together a bunch of slides, researched some basic facts. I need some general knowledge, but the facts I brought up. So here's basically what Handsboro looked like back then, Mississippi City. Right in here, you see in this area of Helen Road and Magnolia is where, Magnolia again in here, is where the guy whose Handsboro was named after, he was a black man, he was a free black man, and his name was Bernard, who was a blacksmith. And they named it after him for some reason. But
Bayou Bernard.
Bayou Bernard was named after him, yeah. Handsboro was actually named after the Hands brothers.
Yeah.
And it was first called Buena Vista, and then changed to Handsboro, B-O-R-O-U-G-H, and then it was shortened to Handsboro with a O-R-O, Handsboro. They're not real sure of the date of that, though. I could blow this map up some if you wanted to see it. It's an interesting map to look at all the sites if you're from there to see where everybody's from. But in the interest of keeping this a little brief, I'll proceed from the map and go on to some of the other stuff in here. I've got to turn this down. And then we'll enter. And I think you said hit this button right here.
The right button. There you go. And I hit.
It's not doing it.
Hit the one in the
That's what I
middle.
got. Yeah. Oh, it's the one in the middle, huh?
It's shrinking.
The one in the middle?
Yeah, the one in the middle.
It's not that way.
We're so techno efficient, it's not even funny. You get up there and those are really good.
No, didn't do it.
It's not like doing it this time. We always have trouble with this part.
There you go. Okay. Here's some old postcards of Handsboro themselves. This one's called A Quiet Street in Handsboro. I'm not real sure what these pictures are probably around 1910. from anywhere from 1906 to 1910 in that time frame. And I know that because the back of them was divided on the postcard. Divided postcards started in 1907. Prior to 1907, 1906 and earlier, you couldn't write on the back of a postcard. So you had to write on the front. So you'll see postcards that have spaces on the front of them for writing. And then you'll see in the back where it has an address and a line. Some of them is very easy to tell. Some of it isn't because they use the same images after 1907 than they used before that. So you have to use a lot of information to determine when the photo was actually taken. So this is a quiet street in Handsboro. It's like a nice quiet
church in the background on that side.
Steeple.
Yeah, you see the steeple there? I'm not sure which church that is. I could probably do the research and figure which church existed back then. But there were a number of them. That's a new thing. Okay, next picture. The old Cowan Road in Handsboro, Mississippi. What it looked like running from the beachfront down into Handsboro. It's probably a section down between Pass Road, north of Pass Road, too. There's one that says Main Street, Handsboro, Mississippi. Main Street was Pass Road. I found in Stevens' documentation where he documented Main Street, also known as Pass Road, Pass Highway. Main Street and Pass Street right here. These postcards were produced by E.J. Younghands, who was a premier postcard maker of Gulfport at that time. But if it wouldn't have been for him, we wouldn't have a lot of this documented, because he made a tremendous amount of postcards. His mother was a lighthouse keeper, and his aunt too. We did a lot of those postcards too in that era. Here's some old views right here. The road to Handsboro. I'm not sure which road this is. Right here, it could be Pass Road, could be Main Street. It's hard to tell going into this pig in the middle of the road.
I've always been interested in the hog.
Yeah, in the middle of the road. This is a hand-colored postcard. And so with hand-colored postcards, you're not real sure of the color, because most of them you get are different colors. So you can't document the color historically based on the postcard. Right here, of course, everybody recognizes Bayou Bernard. Hadn't changed much. These two guys trout fishing on Bayou Bernard. I've got about 4 different versions of this postcard. Some of them say trout fishing on Bayou Bernard. Some of them just say Bayou Bernard. Like this one, this is the only color version I have, so I'll put it on there. Right there. I'm not sure where that is in Bayou Bernard either. Here's the Bayou Bernard Bridge in Gulfport, Mississippi. This is probably not the Cowan Road Bridge. That steel bridge was built in 1910. This postcard is dated 1907. This wooden bridge, so that bridge is probably, they think down there was down by Mill Street somewhere, is what people have told me. But I haven't found anything to document that. Nice bridge. Right here, a glimpse of the Bayou, Handsboro. This is, I think, down Mill Street, looking toward Bayou Bernard, the north end of Mill Street. Right here's where they used to store lumber from Linhart's sawmills, and one of the lumber basins right there. I think Linhart's log basin is documented on the map, on the Stevens map in there. That'd be pretty big logs to stand on.
So is that in the water?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's square timber.
Yeah.
They're on suits and they're standing
Just
on
what I was
it.
thinking. They're pushing it, aren't they?
No, that was very common.
What time frame are we talking about here?
This is turn of the century,
Okay.
early 1910s, I guess. Probably could have been a lot earlier, because they started lumbering in 1837, I think. So 1840 they have documented. So it could have been, if they were doing this, I'm sure it's back far as in. But this picture just happens to be colorized and divided in the back, so we kind of know the date on this. Here's a nice picture, seen on Bayou Bernard. Who knows where that picture is, too? They're all dressed up, though, for fishing. Right here is a postcard for my family in.
Oh.
This is a family postcard. And right here, in this picture, is my grandfather, George German, right there. And that's at Linhart's merchandise store on Tea Garden Road and Commerce Street. And they're also listed on the map too.
What corner?
It's on the west corner, right? The map shows the number kind of in the middle, but I've been told it was on the west corner. Of what someone thought it was, you know. Somebody told me that the
Wow.
lady in the picture was probably very German too. But I think, well, this Handsboro School, for those of you who know what Handsboro School is, I got this picture from the Handsboro School reunion. So I had to throw it in here. It was taken in 1958. There's some recent pictures in that you'll remember.
Is that where Lynn Meadows
I've
is?
seen that.
No, it's not from Lynn's Meadow. This is on Cowan Road.
Oh, Callan.
Callan Pass Road.
Yeah, long gone. Don't know where McDonald's is now. Or actually, a little further
A little bit
north.
north of it.
Yeah, where the McDonald's was.
That's where the
There was a ball
playground was.
field next to it. We used to play
I'm sorry?
That's where the playground was.
Yeah,
where
the
the
Yes.
ball was there.
Yeah, the playground was there. There was a ball field there too.
Yeah.
And in the early days, there was a girls' finishing school there. Right there where the McDonald's was too. That a woman used to go to be refined, I guess. I'm not sure what they do. Yeah.
No finishing.
I'm not sure what they do to finishing school
I'll just cross them right back, so you just.
back then.
I think they were finished to begin with.
Yeah. The Handsboro School, right there. These are some old little pictures of Handsboro that I got from a box of antique photos of Handsboro, some old documents. And these are probably around 1870s.
Wow.
This is the one of the Hands houses right there. That's where Linhart had a lumber mill there too, and it's probably scrap lumber from one of the lumber mills that wasn't worthy of being shipped out, I guess, to ship out. This photo right here of Handsboro is a real photo taken about the same time frame as the other one. And I'm not sure where the road is. It looks like the same fence in the other photo that you see of the road in Handsboro. It's not documented as to where it is. Which I always preach, when you have an old photo, document it. Your family's got photos. I'm preaching to the choir, I know, document them. Right here is an interesting photo. This is my dad's house when he was a child. So it's my grandfather's house. It was on Tea Garden Road, just north of the tracks on the east side. The first house on the east side. They had, in that house, actually I think it's the house right next door to it. It's Aunt Hattie's house, but this house had, they had 11 children. And then, of course, his mom and dad lived in that house at the time. That happens to be Doc Everett, the Iceman, and his son, Little Doc. Riding an ice square in there. And my Aunt Thelma in the back, and my Uncle Harry, they were sitting on the steps.
Uncle Harry's still alive.
Yeah, Uncle Harry's still alive, and a couple of them are, well, one of them passed away just this weekend, as you know. There's 3 more left, I think. So, my aunt was the oldest, born in 1910. Doctor, I understand his son's still alive, somewhere in Jackson, Mississippi. Right here's a picture of the St. James Church. I don't know if y'all remember this church or not. I wrote down some facts about this church, when it was built and all that. It was basically, I could read the dates if you wanted, but it was built, burned down a year later, used for a few years, burned down again, rebuilt. I think this is a restored version of 1950 something, and then I think the tornado.
Tornado took it.
67. The 67, the tornado was. Yeah, the churches where I grew up in this church as an altar boy, with Father Walsh and Father Newman, and Father knew those priests. The interior of the church right here, the altar, was donated by Mr. Mark Knowledge, who we all know, along with some of the interior furnishings, the pews and all that. He donated all that. He was a shipmaker back then. If you were to blow that up, it actually has his name credited on the bottom of this old altar right in here. But I'm not sure what happened to the altar after the tornado. 67, it's probably ruined. The crucifix was not out of that church, and it still is hanging in the new St. James Church on Cowan Road. That's the original crucifix.
Where was that church?
It was on Tea Garden Road on the west side, south of the tracks. probably a block, maybe with that bowling, it's a bowling alley there, pool
Where
hall.
Mosquitoes is, right?
Oh, mosquitoes.
Yeah, there was also a rectory right there too. I think a Knights of Columbus Hall in later years, right there too. This is the priest that was there in the early years of Pendergrass, building stuff at Pendergrass. He was also the priest in Bay St. Louis too. Catholic priest, and he did traveled to a lot of other churches there. And I found this old photo of him one time on the internet, so I picked that up too. But just to throw in there. Right here, of course, is St. Mark's Church. This church is not the original. Right there, the original was built a little further north on the same property. But this, I think this one was destroyed by one of the hurricanes. Is that right?
Oh,
Yeah. So the other one was rebuilt, and they actually built a rectory further south of the new church they built. St. Mark's, of course, the new one's out on Callan Road, I think. Is that where they put it? Callan Road.
moved it out on Low Range.
Yeah, Callan Range. I always call it Callan Road because when I grew up
Right,
there.
well, I mean,
it was
the
Callan
one
Road.
breathes into the other.
Yeah, so I'm not sure. I think they changed names over the Seaway Bridge.
No, Magnolia.
Pardon?
Magnolia is where it changes
Magnolia.
officially.
Magnolia Street, they put in the bridge.
It was actually Oyster Shell when I was a kid. I lived right on Callan Road. So, I know that. Right here's a postcard of Mississippi City. This really isn't Mississippi City. It's a greetings card, and they used to stamp different things on the front. But you know, you ought to be here. I'm awful lonesome without you. So I use that to kind of go into start in the Mississippi section. Right here's a road in Mississippi. This photo was taken by Willis Vale in 1902. And it documents the free library there in Mississippi City. I'm not sure where Mississippi, which road this is, whether it's Tea Garden or Courthouse. But if you were to blow it up, you can see, I don't see the courthouses or anything down there on the left. But you would if it was Courthouse Road, so it makes me believe it's Tea Garden. On the left, on those buildings on the left, if you were to blow up this picture, you can see there's circus posters all on this building here. And then way down here, there's a man and a little girl, and this is a low resolution scan of a 5x8 glass negative. If a 5x8 glass negative, you can make 3 feet by 5 feet and actually pick out what that girl's wearing, see who that guy is. It's just the potential resolution is, you know, greater than what your computer can display in a photograph. A free library. Here's the Oyster Shell Road in Mississippi City. This was taken in 1902 as well. And it runs along the beachfront in Mississippi City. I'm not sure what the house is. The road isn't very well defined. It looks like they kind of put oyster shells over a path along the beachfront. We're lucky because Willis Vale documented his photos with the exact day and the time that he took the photograph. So I've got 200 of those of the construction of that railroad, and every one of them documents the exact time and day where he took them. He's an engineer. Press on down to the beachfront. Here's a postcard. It's called From Anniston to Gulfport, Mississippi. And it shows a trolley run along the tracks. Of course, on the beachfront, there's not much there, but trees. I can only imagine it's around Anniston Avenue because that's what it tells me it is. It's another hand-colored postcard from E.J. Young hands. I don't think the trolleys were red, were they?
No, they just painted them whatever they wanted to.
Yeah, whatever they wanted to do it. Most of them are hand-colored in Germany and then sent back.
Well, I've got cards of Bowlog painted every color of the rainbow, the blue.
I've got some. I'm going to show you a boudoir.
Yeah.
Different colors. There's Anniston. Another one of the trolley right there, and it says it's in front of the military academy, GCMA, along the beachfront. Right there, the trolley ran from 1906 to 1926, from Amuse Street to Davis in Pascagoula, and around Gulfport and around the Great Southern Hotel and out to the pavilion. Here's a picture of the Anniston Hotel on the Gulf. You can also see the trolley to the right in front of it. I don't know if I had noticed that they hadn't painted it red for me. And Anniston was right there, of course, on Anniston Avenue, which it was named after. And there was 2 versions of it. Some of the cards say the new Anniston Hotel because the old burned and it was rebuilt. I'm not sure the years of that.
I can't figure it out either.
Pardon?
I can't figure it
Yeah.
out either.
The boat, of course, in that picture was hand-drawn in. It's not to scale. Right here, you know what that one is?
I think it's
That's
that
the
old
haunted house. You know what that is,
The
yeah?
haunted house.
That's the haunted house in Mississippi, right? They say that when the piano would play at night automatically, and when someone looked through the window, they saw a headless person in there playing the piano. So I think it stayed abandoned for like 50 years.
Long time.
50 years they thought it was haunted. It was about a generation then. Until 1905, when one of the cousins of the family that owned it went down and spent the night in the house and found a possum running up and down playing piano. I don't think the possum was 50 years old. So, I don't know if that possum has run up and down for 50 years on the piano. If you look at the dates, if you look at
Probably had 10 possums there.
Right.
If you look at the dates, some of the dates don't add up to that. But obviously, they're not too afraid of the haunted house there. Right here, this was the Runcie House in Mississippi City. And I'm not sure where it was, but it's a real photo postcard documented on the back as being in Mississippi City. And on the back, they talk about watching the waves go by. And I can only imagine that the guy retired sitting there post-Civil War. Could be a vet, sitting there on the beach, relaxing for a change. If you blow it up and look at it, his wife there is a lot larger than him, and looks a little mean.
Stern.
A little stern. I use mean because it's just, the way she looks. My wife is not like that.
I was gonna say, you better just try.
You better look at it.
Let me go on. Look at an interesting photo.
There's a compliment
Where it
in there
was.
somewhere, but it's.
I could probably look up telephone records and that kind of stuff and eventually find out where it is if I had time. Here, of course, is the Embassy Club of the Mary Mansion, built by Piazza, that was his name, the Italian, in 1915 or something. Well, I've got the date written down, but it was a swamp, and he filled it in, bought it, filled it in. He had a shipbuilding business in Pascagoula, where Ingalls is. And so it only took me a few years to build it, and then he went broke for some reason and went back to Italy, where a lot of people say he was imprisoned for stealing money from the Italian government, but it's not documented. They can't just hearsay. He's documented as having so many speeding tickets going between Gulfport and Ocean Springs that they used to bill him monthly.
Automatic payment plan.
The only person that ever had a running account with the Ocean Springs Police Department for paying speeding tickets. If you believe the history, that's what it says. It's documented. Here's another picture right here later. This is 1953. The other one's 1947. This one's 1953. It's just another view. The roof on that house might have been red. I'm not sure.
I don't know.
If I remember right.
I think it was.
Yeah. I used to go in it when I was a kid all the time, like most of the children did. And we'd go in the back window down there, drop into the boiler room, and go inside it and run around in there.
Where was this?
It was on Calvin Road.
For the
Yeah,
bid.
Calvin Road.
Right there.
Well-
The beachfront.
Cabell took it down.
Yeah.
His wife was kind of eccentric. She never lived in the house. She lived in a kind of a real small shanty behind it.
It was like.
I think. She was crazy. He said she was kind of insane.
It was a casino at one point.
Yeah, Embassy Club was. And we were in there even when I was young. It was still sitting on the bar, and the bar had silver dollars in it with like a acrylic over them, where you couldn't get to them.
Huh.
And we never touched them because, back then you just wouldn't do that. But so we went in the house, we never touched anything or took anything.
Darn.
Camille took care of that for us. They used to say it was haunted too. Yes, sir.
I was reading a story on the internet about a young man. Of course, now, when he told this story, he was about 90 years old. But the guy that built this had a white Stanley steamer. And he would get in that car, and he had a hat. And when they was headed to Ocean Springs, he said he got to going so fast he would take the hat off, and the boy was scared, and he put it over the speedometer.
That's why I got to
That's why I got to do it. And therein lies the problem.
Yeah, it was built in 1915.
Yeah.
The spot it was built on was called Buzzard's Roost, was what the property was known as. And it was a swamp. He had to fill it in. But everything in it was like imported Italian marble, I think, wasn't it? And mahogany. They have exposed mahogany beams and all marble.
The 47 hurricane flooded that thing.
Did it?
They
47?
put a big bar across the front.
Salvador.
Damage.
Yeah.
47. I've got a photograph of the 47 damage in the 47 hurricane. I just didn't throw it in there. I'm going to be a little brief, and I have a tendency to be long-winded. So the less pictures I put in there, the better off y'all are. Here's some pictures of the old courthouse. I think this one's in your book.
Yeah. Yeah, that's what, the only thing I'd ever seen of the courthouse. That's the courthouse over yonder. That's the Chancery Clerk's office. And so they got a sign stuck up out there that it's the courthouse. They didn't even try to rebuild the courthouse. That was torn down in 1916. What they went after was the Chancery Clerk's office, and they turned it the wrong way, jacked it up, didn't put the chimney on it, moved the steps and the windows, and they called it the Harrison County Courthouse. And then it was the Chancery Clerk's office, and they didn't even copy that.
Actually, it was the Chancery Clerk's office on the first floor and the jail on the second floor.
That's what I never could figure out, was where the jail was. Was the jail in that building?
We can argue that
Research on it.
Your husband.
You know what the market is?
Talk about it after.
It was part of a complex of buildings.
That's what the marker says
Well,
right
that's
there.
all right.
What it says.
Clerk's office was masonry, and the jail was the
Well, you see, I kept finding out about this jail in a two-story building, and I couldn't find another two-story building. That's
The
it.
documentation from the Stevens question documents 3 buildings: Chancery Clerk, courthouse, and jail, with a gallows in between them, so many feet back.
The second floor was the jail.
So, anyway, here's a picture of it. Right there, it shows 2 buildings. If you go on to this version right here, there's another picture looking down the courthouse toward the beachfront. With a pretty girl there all dressed up.
Now, the buildings are facing 16th Street.
Yes,
Right.
You see, they turned it around and faced Courthouse Road.
don't ask. Why is it 16th Street when there's no 1 through 15 or 17?
Well, because they start numbered from Pass Road South, is what they did.
Exactly.
And well, that's where the occurred.
And then they ran out of room and went,
In
oops.
1837, when the city was closed, and they requested permission for the railroad for the original purpose, they laid it out, and that started the streets 1.5 miles north at number 1, and worked their way south to number 16, or actually to the beachfront at 19, and either nothing else was numbered or nothing else survives.
Yeah.
But 16 is the only street that survives. That was the east-west streets. The north-south streets were named after states, starting with Maryland all the way through wherever it goes to. And there's only 3 streets left, I think, that are named after states. Louisiana,
Texas.
Texas
Arkansas.
streets, Texas. Yeah, they were gonna run the railroad right down that road, they call it Railroad Avenue. First, they changed it Courthouse Road.
Yeah, the railroad was disapproved
Yeah.
and was never built.
Well, Hardy
Show us the rest of it.
built it first.
I promise I get y'all out of here, so I'm gonna go through these pretty quick.
Yeah.
These are some of the buildings you'll be familiar with: Colonial Cottages and Seawall Cafe on the beachfront.
Yeah, see what, you see all those steps down there?
Paradise
Oh,
Point.
Paradise Point.
Yeah. Paradise Point right there.
Amazing. Oh, gosh.
Prior to the hurricane, of course, there's a restaurant at Paradise Point right there. Paradise Point was called that because at that point on the beach, it actually jutted out 300 more feet into the Gulf and was a bluff. So big that the bluff was so high that you could walk down underneath the trees that were eroded underneath it. So right there at that point. Of course, it looks nothing like that today.
Global warming.
Here's the Paradise Point after the 47 hurricane. Right here, before saying hurricane destroy it. Right here's Fairchild. You've all seen that. Do some of these here, as you'll be familiar with those, and I can go through them pretty quickly at the end. Sand Beach Hotel, right there. Looks like a nomad sitting there, right back right. Does it? Sea Isles Court was also there in Mississippi City. Mississippi City was all small.
Mom and
hotels
pops.
along the- Yes, along the beach right there. That is the Shannon's Souvenirs and Pottery, was in Mississippi City. Sharon's,
Sharon.
Sharon's, you're right. Right there, right there. No, she's my wife,
So you correct you.
that was in Mississippi City too. Here's some other places.
We remember that. Remember when they turned into a restaurant too?
I'll have a picture of that too. I'll show you.
Originally, and then it turned into Lion.
Yeah, I remember driving past it at night, seeing it all lit up when I was a little kid. There you go, they turned it into a restaurant.
Well, it's a restaurant first.
Restaurant first.
Yeah.
You're right. Restaurant first, the Lion place, right there. I knew y'all remember that place. Here's the GCMA, this is a panoramic, hand-colored panoramic, the GCMA by Young Hands. Right there, you don't see too many of this postcard around. You've probably never seen that one.
Never seen that.
Here's some other ones, the hand-colored ones of GCMA that are kind of more rare. They're not the common postcards of GCMA that you see. There's some other ones, Gulf Coast Military Academy. Right here is for the governor's visit. Right here, we're all lined up to greet the governor. You see him approaching. Here's further down the line, the governor coming down. There's two versions of this postcard. Here's the extra one I put in there because this is the Handsboro post office. That's my daddy on the very far right. If you can see the resemblance.
Yes. Handsome.
And my daddy, and it's, I wrote the names up here so I could see them. That's Miss Erin Denham, the first mail carrier. This is Miss Washington, the postmaster, not postmistress. And Miss Hunt, who worked at the post office, and my dad, who worked at the post office too in Handsboro. Now do it.